I was looking at myself, but now I'm looking at you. Hopefully you clicked on this video because you're trying to learn some basic stuff about some anatomy of the bow. So let's get to talking about it so I don't waste your time. But whenever we talk about bows, I think you can look up some pictures. There's some awesome graphs online, but me personally, I like to watch videos and listen to videos. So if I'm running through this in regards to a Mathews setup, now this is gonna be consistent for the first few things, but then there's gonna be some Mathews specific things that I'm gonna touch on at the end. But the first thing is, these are your strings. So there's two different types of string. There's your main string, then you have your cables. When people talk about cables and affecting your timing of your bow, and your poundage of your bow, that is all done with the cables, the thing that runs through your cable guard. This main string where you have your peep sight attached, your nose button, if you actually run a nose button, mine is just a piece of string with a little, some overhand knots tied on it, but it also holds your D-loop and it's where your arrow gets knocked. That is your basic string setup, cables and strings. Now to work to the cams. These are the cams. These are going to be consistent for just about every single bow. There are some things out there that are called like single cam bows, and then you have dual cam bows. Most modern bows are dual cam bows, so that's what we're going to focus on. Top and bottom having these big old oval like things. Some are more circular, whatever, beyond the point. Going to the limbs. These are going to be your limbs.
What are they?
Great, you got it. These are your limbs. The limb pocket, when people talk about the limb pocket and your limb bolt, this also affects your poundage. So there's two things that affect your poundage, your cables and your limb pockets. If you cannot get to a bow press, you can crank these out about a half a twist or I think it's like people usually suggest about max 2 twists. I'm not here to tell you exactly how many twists. Do your research on your bow. But this right here with just an Allen key is also a way, if your bow feels too heavy, to be able to crank it out and then be able to shoot it a lot more comfortably. So this is now also going to be your riser. It's what everything is attached to. So your riser is the body of your bow. Say it with me. The body of your bow. Great. So with that being said, it's where your arrow rests. Arrow rest meaning where your arrow actually rests on before you shoot. Some people like me run a drop away. Some are cable and some are limb driven. We're not going to get into the nuts and bolts of that. You also have your sight or scope or rail, whatever you're going to call it. All of it's needed. You have your pins. Pins, when people are talking about it, they're not talking about riding. They're actually talking about your aiming reticle. So a lot of you guys already know that. You guys grew up in it. I did not. So I'm not here to offend anybody. This is just stuff that I had to learn personally, coming from a city boy type of environment. Now, did I like getting out in the woods? Heck yes. But I wasn't around a lot of hunting until kind of like high school, but even then it was like 2 years, 3 years. And then I was right back out in college trying to figure out life. So then all these things I had to figure out more in detail after college. So if you're like me, this video is for you. So to go back down, these are the stabilizers. A lot of people know what stabilizers are, but these are stabilizers. What do? They're a lot of times helping you stabilize your bow. Oh, it's built into the name. Now, how you stabilize, a lot of people will put less weight up front with more weight in the back. All of that is going to be personal preference and how you set up your bow. So don't let anybody say this is a one size fits all. Now you can follow somebody's blueprint and then adjust from there, which I suggest because it gets you in a set place. But don't think that, oh, this person shoots it this way and he's a top shooter, so I need to match that. That is not at all how this works. And if we leave it at that, that's gonna be your basic setup of your bow. Now, the cool thing about other bows is they have a rotating module. Sometimes I wish Mathews did that. Sometimes I wish they didn't, because I get why they don't in some regards, because some people claim efficiency. I think it's more so like a competition type of easy swap for a lot of people that are using these bows for competition. They can easily swap it and not have to worry about changing out their whole limbs to get different poundages, because Mathews builds all of that in, whether it be your draw length, your poundage, or your let off. Poundage, draw length, goodness gracious, I'm all out of focus. Poundage, draw length, or let off. I think we're back. Within the module itself, which these are not the cheapest things in the world, but there are some shops that'll get rid of them for a little bit cheaper. And beyond the point, these are bolt on and pretty set in stone in regards to what they do and how they're offered. A lot of other places will have rotating mods. Rotating mods meaning this thing right here will rotate to affect your draw length and your let off. Now, what's poundage? It's not the weight of the bow. It's about how hard it is to draw. So the higher the poundage, the harder it is to draw, but also the benefit to it is also the faster your arrow is going to go. But you need to shoot where you can comfortably be able to get some arrows down range and get some practice and be able to tune it at the top end of that spectrum is what I would always suggest. Now, in regards to draw length, people will measure it from the big old wingspan test and figure it out from there. I think at the end of the day, when you start shooting, you'll figure out, oh, well, yeah, that's the wingspan test, but like when I get in draw, I hyperextend, so I actually shoot with a bent arm. So really I need to go a half inch lower than what my measurement is actually coming out to be. So again, deviations there. And so we talked about poundage, we talked about draw length, and let off. Let off is one of those things that is really based on the hunter. Some of it's based on your strength, some of it's just based on the scenario that you're going to be in. If you find yourself and thinking you're going to be drawing super early and having to hold, now you might think that you're not going to be in that scenario, but you have no idea. So a lot of hunters will run higher let off, so it's easier for them to hold in the back wall. What is let off? Let's say you're shooting a 70-pound bow and you're shooting, or let's say you're shooting, easy math, 100-pound bow and you're shooting 20% let off. That means at full draw, instead of you holding 100 pounds like those big old bows, you're actually only holding 20 pounds at full draw. So how does that relate to archery inside of what you're doing? If you're shooting 60 pounds and you're shooting a 90% let off, then there's high benefit there in regards to a hunting situation in regards to holding at full draw. Now, it's not all like grass is greener on the other side, because the difference when you do that is it creates a longer valley, and in that longer valley and in that higher let off, I say longer valley, that's what I think. But what I do know is that it's easier to creep out of your back wall. And if you know anything about archery, consistency is key, and the back wall creates a level of consistency for the arrow flight. So you're shooting from the same end point, in range point of your shot, so that when you release the arrow, it goes the same speed. Now, let's say this is at full draw and this is me at 90% because I've been holding for the last 5 minutes on this buck that won't give me a good shot. What do? Well, like when I shoot it, if that's a 20-yard shot, probably not gonna make a huge difference. But if I shoot that at like 30, 40, and I've creeped up about an inch out of my back wall and I just don't feel it, now is it actually an inch? Don't judge me on the actual measurements. But if I've creeped up out of my back wall and I shoot it, then I might have the tendency to shoot low because I'm not shooting the max poundage because I wasn't at full draw, like actual full draw. So again, benefits, pros and cons of high let off, low let off. It's up to you to figure out which one is worth it for you. But at the end of the day, that was a lot to say. But hopefully you got something out of it for you newbies, because I'm still new. And so I feel pretty connected with the newer generation. I say I'm new, I'm like 4 or 5 years in, and I've been doing it like a madman. And so I don't know where I fall in the spectrum, but I do know I think a lot about it, and hopefully this is beneficial for that guy that's trying to figure it out like I was trying to figure it out. So we'll leave some checkpoints inside of this video so you can easily go to each chapter and what I'm talking about and when I'm talking about it. So hopefully it's beneficial. If not, get over it. Remember to be better in whatever you choose to do, whether it be archery, fatherhood, motherhood, whoever you are. Be better, be great. William Alderman is out. Peace.